side. But, you know, investors, realtors, we are a special lot, you know?
No doubt.
And anytime your seller's agent is agreeing with the buyers that the seller is being unreasonable because he knows his value, especially when we're doing this portfolio on the income method, the income approach.
Which is the way it should be on a commercial.
Yeah, right. And when you do the income approach, it doesn't matter, as long as it's full, you're getting the income is steady. It's been steady for 10 years and still going on. It doesn't matter if there's a little deferred maintenance. He's not going to discount give his property away because the two slick buyers that another one of our colleagues, one of our members partnered with to buy the property, are two commercial realtors, and thinking that they could bamboozle my seller to give his property away. Talking about, well, they did the inspection and it needs some subfloor. Yeah, fine, that's great. But
so did it fall
it's
through?
Still making money. Come on.
Did it fall through?
No. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the issue? Because we got to get started.
I'm sorry. Okay, so now the issue is, I'm sorry, you know I get long-winded.
Yeah, I do. That's why I said that.
I got those properties, they're for sale again. And how do I best let folks in our organization know?
Okay, so let's do this. Let's save that for part of the show today, because we are talking about deals today. How's that sound?
That sounds awesome. Okay.
All right, good deal. So when you tell about what's happening, try and keep it to just the facts, ma'am.
Okay.
I gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Okay, so I am going to tell you guys a great story that happened to me. It's one of my top most embarrassing moments, but it's so funny I have to share it. And yes, feel free to use it against me at any time in the future, because others that know about it have already. So we have purchased the top floor of the old post office in Rock Hill. We're renovating it. And I think it was, you know what? I think it was last Friday, because we weren't really doing anything. I was on vacation. So when I got dressed, I just threw on my ratty old outfit that I pull weeds in and stuff. You know, it's pretty, you know, it's a ratty outfit. It was clean, but it was ratty. So I go over there to meet my painter, who's a really good, strong Christian with a thick Hispanic accent, just the sweetest guy named Freddie you'd ever want to meet, and a really good painter, but I'm not giving his name away yet because I've got him lined up for the next 2 months, so y'all leave him alone. But anyway, we come over to the post office. I'm on the top floor, so you have to go up the steps. So he's following me up the steps, and then I'm spending my time showing him around all the different things that I need for him to do. And he and I are the only two people in the building, and we're about ready to go. And he says, are you going anywhere after you leave here? And I said, I was just going to run into the office, because that's what I do on my days off as I go in and work. So I said, just going to pop into the office and get a few things done. And he says, come here, trying to pull me close like he wants to whisper it. Now, we're the only people in this 4,000 square foot area. And so I'm getting a little kind of nervous, going, oh, why is he pulling me close, wanting to whisper this into me? And then he sees me back away. He says, no. He says, you have a hole in the back of your pants. He said, I've been wanting to tell you, but I didn't know how.
That was so sweet. He told you that.
It was sweet. But it was the size of a quarter right at the top of where my shirt stopped. So it was just front and center. But what was fun, what I thought about after I thanked him profusely, I said, a lot of people wouldn't say that. And I'm so grateful that you told me that.
Especially a man. Like a man
Yeah.
to pull you aside.
That's
That
the
is so
truth.
sweet.
That's
Yeah.
the truth. So I
Wow.
just pictured us as we're walking up the steps. I know my rear end was right about eye level of him too. So he just got the full glory. Oh, it was so good. But anyway, that's what I'm telling you today. So I've had really good embarrassing stories like that. We could have a whole show on things like that. So, so you are at Sonrisers this morning, just in case you didn't know. And I'm really excited about this week because we're going to talk to each other. And that's probably the thing that I miss the most about being on Zoom is that we don't get to, see each other and talk face to face. And it just, that kind of drives me crazy. Next week, we're going to have Nancy Labs. She's a friend of mine that's in one of the groups that I go to. She lives out in Texas, and she just wrote a program about a landlord system that I think is really, really good. And then the week after that, we're going to have Dave Richter back. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was the one that came and talked about Profits First. He was our very first Zoom person. He happened to be in town in our office, and he was our very first Zoom guest. He now has gotten with the writer, the guy who wrote the book, Mike Blalovich, I can't say his last name, that wrote Profits First. They're writing a book together. They're almost done, and it's called Profits First for Real Estate Investors. So he's going to come on in 2 weeks and talk about the things that he's come up for Profits First that are directly for real estate investors. And I think that's really cool. I'm excited about that. But for no further delay, Tom, you are on.
Well, thank you. Good morning, guys. Last week, as you know, we didn't have our sunrise meeting, and last week I was preparing something for Labor Day about working in your business, working for the Lord, and so that episode went on. But today is September the 11th, and when you think about it, it's been 19 years since that day, September 11, 2001. And I'm sure all of us, when we think about it and just meditate on it, we know exactly where we were, when we heard the news. And from that day on, I mean, our lives in our country has changed with Homeland Security and the airport process and all of the other things that has occurred. And I was reading an article today that said that the memorials for today, because of COVID-19, will not be anywhere close to what they would have been. But that day on 2001, there were 2,997 people, I would say Americans, most of them were Americans, that lost their lives. And they were moms and dads who went to work that day and were going to fly from the East Coast to the West Coast on a flight for business or pleasure or all the other things that happen in a normal day that, we wouldn't think about. But that day was something that was, tragic, and something that we probably, as long as we live, we will not forget, what occurred in that country, in our country from, on that day. So as I said, it was 2,997 Americans, but there were 19 hijackers who were there too. And I really want to talk this morning, maybe about the hijackers. Over the last few weeks or months, I've been looking at Netflix, and I was looking at, World War II episodes, and it was talking about the Emperor of Japan when he realized that they were losing the war, that they ended up getting their airplane pilots, and giving them this drink and going through this ritual, and they made them kamikaze pilots, which meant suicide bombers. And so that's how the war basically ended, was that someone who didn't have the power and might anymore to fight a fair game, took their subjects and turned them into killers to take the lives of their enemies. And I said, when you think about Osama bin Laden, here was, you know, a nothing who could not defeat the United States of America, but yet he ended up getting, you know, 19 people and going through some kind of ritual and telling them that this was for the cause, and that when they die, they were going to be somewhere in heaven with 20 some virgins and all of the other things that he could make up to make it be believable that people would give their lives for that cause. But I said, you know, when you think about that, here, these people ask their subjects to give their life to take their enemy's life. But I said, Christianity is completely opposite. In Christianity, we give our lives to save our enemies. It's a whole different contrast and a process where God uses us for a difference. I was looking at Romans, the 12th chapter, and I want to read some of this on here where Paul is talking to the church at Rome. He said, brothers and sisters, in view of all we have just shared about God's compassion, he said, I encourage you to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. Now notice God is a living. The enemy is a dead sacrifice. He said, dedicated to God and pleasing to him. This kind of worship is appropriate for you. Don't become like the people of this world. Instead, change the way you think. Then you will always be able to determine what God really wants, what is good, pleasing, and perfect. Because of the kindness that God has shown me, I ask you not to think of yourself more highly than you ought. Instead, your thoughts should lead you to use good judgment based on what God has given each of you as believers. Our bodies have many parts, but these parts don't do the same thing in the same way. Even though we are many individuals, Christ makes us one body and individuals who are connected to each other. God in his kindness gave each of us different gifts. Your gift is speaking what God has revealed. Make sure what you say agree with the Christian faith. If your gift is serving, then devote yourself to serving. If it's teaching, devote yourself to teaching. If it is encouraging others, devote yourself to giving encouragement. If it is sharing, be generous. If it's leadership, lead enthusiastically. If it's helping people in need, help them cheerfully. Love sincerely, hate evil. Hold on to what is good. Be devoted to each other like a loving family. Excel in showing respect for each other. Don't be lazy in showing your devotion. Use your energy to serve the Lord. Be happy in your confidence. Be patient in trouble. Pray continually. Share what you have with God's people who are in need. Be hospitable. Bless those who persecute you, not like Osama. Bless them and don't curse them. Be happy with those who are happy. Be sad with those who are sad. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be arrogant, but be friendly to humble people. Don't think that you are smarter than you really are. Don't pay people back with evil for the evil they do to you. Focus your thoughts on the things you consider noble. As much as it is possible, live in peace with everyone. Don't take revenge, dear friends. Instead, let God's anger take care of it. After all, Scripture says, I alone have the right to take revenge. I will pay back, said the Lord. So if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him drink. If you do this, you make him feel guilty and ashamed. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil with good. This is the God that we serve. He's completely different from anything in our human minds. That is always good for evil, that your enemy you take care of. And this is the life that God has given to us. But as zealous as these 19 hijackers were, we need to be as zealous as they were for what God has entrusted with us. We can't be lukewarm or secret soldiers. We have to be completely involved and devoted to what God has told us, because the whole world rests on what we do, what we say, and how we live. If we fail on those, then our enemies will die, but also our friends and loved ones will die if we don't share the good news. So my encouragement this morning is, on September the 11th, is understand what devotion is, understand what buying in is, understand what commitment is, because Paul said, I've fought a good fight. And he said, there is a crown of righteousness that's in store for me. But he said, not only for me, but for all of us who love God's appearance. So as we memorialize this day, if you didn't have family or friends, you know, the first responders, you know, all the firemen and others who also, if they didn't lose their life that day through all of everything else, with many of the disease and everything else that they caught, that those families are still suffering. And there's the families who lost ones or still have a hole in their heart for them also. So, you know, when you pray, you know, let's keep those families and loved ones in prayer also. Let's bow. Gracious eternal God in heaven, we thank you for this day. And Father, we know that our life is in the palm of your hand. And Father, you're the reason we live and move and have our very being. Let us each morning, Father, thank you with gratitude and adoration that you have allowed us to see another day. Yes. But while we see that day, Father, give us courage and wisdom that we can tell the story about how good you are. Let us, Father, have a dedication in the life that we live, that we are not just subpar, but that we're super dedicated for the cause of sharing the good news. And so, Father, we lift you up this morning. Yes. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Tom. When I got in the car this morning, Emma, my daughter, is going to college. Gosh, that just sounds weird coming out of my mouth. Thank God she got in. But I had to drop her off. And as we're getting in the car to leave, I thought to myself, wow, this is the first Friday morning of 9/11 that I wasn't driving down 77, you know, going toward a restaurant, whether it was on South Boulevard or Westinghouse. And I was always blown away to the point of tears, because at every single overpass from South Carolina into North Carolina, there are people standing there with American flags, just waving them back and forth. And I've got chills thinking about it. And when I got in the car this morning, I thought, man, I'm not going to be able to see that. I can drive after this is over, though, because I hear they're going to be on Sutton Road anyway. I heard it on the radio this morning that there were going to be people there waving flags. And the other thing I thought, too, is there are 20-year-old kids today that lost a parent or a relative in that disaster or tragedy, which is absolutely what it was, that never got to meet their parent. You know, they're 20-year-old kids that this is like ancient history to them. But to most of us, you know, except for all you youngins that might be on here, you know, it happened yesterday. And it still burns, you know, it burns deep. And this is something we should never, ever, ever, ever forget, because it truly changed our world. It changed everything for us. It kind of made us wake up and realize that we're not safe in our little homes like we like to think we are. And we need to be not only aware of what's going on around us, but, you know, like you're talking about, Tom, how important it is to, you know, be willing to give our lives to save others. We can't be angry in revenge. We need to be angry in wanting them to know the Christ that we know. And we just need to keep that in mind. Even those 19 people that were flying the airplanes, that were in the cockpit.
Suicide bomber.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good name. Even those 19 people, God loves them too. And we need to pray for their families. Tom, you unmuted. What are you going to say?
No, I'm good.
No, I'd love for you to say something.
No, well, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. Is because, again, the only enemy any of us have is only Satan. He's the only enemy that we have. And so we all have been tools that Satan has used at any time and different times, and still in future times, he will use us. But that's the only enemy that humanity has. And so it's not out of the way to, pray for these people, family, and anyone else that we come in contact with, because even if a person is listed as an enemy, that's the one that God tells us to, bring them water, feed them, do these things, because we are members of the family of God, and God is love. That's God. God is love.
Amen.
And if we are part of him, then we are also love.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Jody and I and Sue, I don't think Sue's on here. Deanna is another one. I don't think she's on here this morning either. But the four of us are the only women that are in our King City Mastermind. And we constantly text each other back and forth with prayers and uplifting messages. We don't do it as often as we should, but what was really funny is this past week, all four of us were like, wow, we're just kind of marred up in this weird funk of just doom, or just not feeling, the joy that we should be feeling. And it was funny how we all kind of came across that. But I thought it was really interesting how the enemy was attacking all four of us at the same time, that the spiritual warfare going on was attacking all four of us at the same time. And it was weird. But what was really cool is that we realized it, and we were able to, lift each other up about it and remind each other about it. So I want to encourage all of you too. We've got a lot of people in this group, this Sonrisers group. Don't hesitate to reach out and just touch somebody in this group and pray for them and let them know that you're praying for them. And they'll do the same. We need to use each other. We need to lean on each other and encourage each other. And, that's why we're here. We do it every Friday morning as a group, but we need to not let it stop. I was on Jim Ingersoll's, one of Jim Ingersoll's Inner Circle meeting yesterday. In fact, Allie was on that as well. And we talked about that, praying for each other, taking advantage of the groups that we're in and praying for each other. Pick a prayer partner for the week or a prayer partner for the month that we can encourage each other through. And, who knows, you might be able to do a deal while you're doing it too. So, that's the way it works. That's the way it works. So, anyway, thank you for that message. That was awesome. And I really wanted to talk about deals today, because things have changed. They're all different. There's so many different ways to get deals done. And one of the things that we haven't been able to talk about in Sonrisers, which we usually do when we get started, is everybody can talk about different deals that they're doing, and questions about deals that they're doing. And Jody was so gracious in sending me a deal that she's been working on that she wanted to share. that's really unique. And Jody, are you willing to talk about it? I've got screen share on if you want to do that, or I can screen share what you sent me. What would you prefer?
I'm willing if you'll go easy on me.
I won't dog you because I need other people to volunteer too.
But yeah, I'm willing.
That doesn't mean we won't dog her.
That's right.
It's okay.
Thank you, Dawn.
Actually, I'm okay with, I just like, I need it. I need the dogging, but be gentle.
Okay.
And know I try. Just know I try.
That's right. So does Clemson, but we won't go there.
You don't think it's too much, do you?
No, it's perfect. Do you need me to screen share or do you have it?
I have, actually, I do have what I sent you. So
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Let's see here, where to go? Here we go. Let me get you out of the way. I said that. Well, maybe you should just do it since it's not coming up the way I thought it would. Let's see. Hold on, here it goes. Is that coming?
Yes, it's there. Good job.
So do you want to ask me a question, or do you? Let me give a quick overview, and then you ask me what I didn't clarify.
That sounds great.
Okay. I have a very nice property up in Lincoln County on the northern side, and I'd like to buy it, and then I'm going to resell it with financing to a deserving home buyer. I am looking for another investor that's wanting a passive investor that wants cash flow. The opportunity actually would be a loan to value of 59% after the discount. I'm going to discount the first position note holder. So I'll buy this property. I will hold after we resell it to a deserving homeowner, I will hold a second position behind the first. Madison Mortgage will actually impound the property and insurance taxes. So then a note servicer will be involved. The property itself in this neighborhood, in this area of about a 5-mile radius, average homes are $243,000. The home is move-in ready. This isn't a wholesale deal. This isn't a flip. This isn't, it's just dated. And I wasn't going to get it low enough to go in and do all the granite, et cetera. But it's a nice home on a half acre. I'm going to sell it to a deserving homeowner with $30,000 down. They'll put a down payment down on it. I'll list the home for $210,000. I'm listing it for $210,000 because it doesn't have the granite. It doesn't have the hardwoods. So this is the deal itself. The market value is $237,000. I'm looking for somebody that wants to get in on the deal. We need $149,926 for the first position note. The term on this deal will be a 360-month note. Interest rate is 7%. The loan to value ratio for this investor, their money will be at just right at 60% loan to value. I'm discounting that first note 5%. So the price of the note after the discount will be $142,000, and that'll give them a payment stream of $997 a month. Okay, shoot holes in it, Wendy.
Okay, so let's finish this out. So you have scheduled payments, so they'll end up paying $359 for it. So that $359, is that with the first and the second in place?
No, that's the first note position, and that's if they were to go the 30 years, which we know in this world would be 5 to 7 is average, or they would refinance out.
Okay, did you calculate what five years of payments would be?
No, but I could.
Okay, why don't you do that while I mention a couple of things, because you're probably quicker on a calculator than me, even though I'm in the finance world.
Oh, no.
So one of the things, and if anybody else has anything to say, I definitely want you to pop in, but there are a couple of things I wanted to point out first is that 149, let me see. Did you mean to make your screen go away?
Yeah, I was going to get to my calculator.
Okay, let me share it too, because I'm pretty sure I have it as well. So the 149, there we go. Price of note 142 after discount. That doesn't have to be one investor. That can be 1, 2, 3 investors all in that first position note. It can also be a combination of self-directed IRA money, HSA money, educational savings money, and cash. It can all be together. It doesn't have to be just one person. It can be a family. It can be people who don't even know each other. As long as Jody has that second position, the last thing Jody's going to let happen is for that first mortgage not to get paid, because she has money on the back end. So I guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say guarantee, that's a bad word. But if somebody stops paying, Jody's going to make those payments until she gets somebody else in there. Am I correct, Jody?
That's absolutely true.
Okay. So that's one thing that you need to remember. There are, and I'm saying this for two reasons. One is you could be the passive investor. And a 7% interest rate is a great thing to take over. And she's calculating what your payments would be for that investment of 142. That's the discounted sale price, right?
Yes.
So, but anyway, once you have your return on it is huge. Your return on this is going to be huge, and your loan to value, it's less than 60% on something like this. But not only is this a good thing for you to invest in, but this is a great way for you to structure a deal on a house that you might be working on. And one of the things I've heard from different camps all over the country is that these types of things are going to become more and more common, because right now, equity that people have in their homes is the highest it's been in years and years and years. On average, people purchasing houses are putting 16% down. That's huge. It hasn't been that high in a very, very long time. And the housing prices haven't plummeted. You know, in 2007 and 8, housing prices plummeted. That's not happening right now. In some cases, not around us, but in some cases, they might be stagnant, like not moving in an upward direction. That's not the case here in the Charlotte area, or even in the Carolinas. That's not the case. But that people have equity in a home. They also have a really high number of houses that are in forbearance right now and in pre-foreclosure right now. So there's going to be a lot of houses out there that have a lot of equity that this kind of situation will work very easily. Let's see. My other question was, who has $30,000 to put down? Well, let me tell you, a lot of people do.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Who said that? Dawn?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a minute? Because
nearly half of all purchases are cash in the retail market.
Crazy.
Right now. It's a real high percentage. And somebody she's going to attract a buyer that's unbankable for the most part through traditional means.
Mm-hmm.
But 30,000 is no step for a stepper. I'm stepping right now, so that's why I'm breathing hard.
I can tell you. I can tell.
It's not that I'm excited over the deal.
Good.
Darn, Don.
I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Jody, why, if the market value is 237, 450 in its as-is condition, why not sell it for its market value?
Well, and that's a good question, Don. When I looked at the ones that have sold for that 230 range, they'd already had some kitchen updates. They already had the hardwoods. This one is kind of the original kitchen and still has carpet throughout the house. So I knew a homeowner in today's market for that 200,000 price point would, so I may be undershooting it, but I was just looking what it already, what the home.
Well, if 237 is the price for one that's already been dialed up, then that's not the market value of your house. If you're selling it for 210, then 210 would be the market value.
Okay. I used
my opinion. Second question is, what are the terms of the second?
I'm in the second. I'm holding that.
What are the terms?
The same 7%, 30-year. What's left over between the two. Literally.
Okay. All right. And next question would be, just in regards to why 30 years, because I think that's your only obstacle in that. Why not 7 or 10 with a balloon?
That's a great perspective. And then get them to just refinance out, because I'm just assuming that they would anyway.
What difference would that make, Dawn? What difference do you
Well,
think it would make?
You know, somebody with money in their retirement account, they're not going to be alive in 30 years. They're going to want to know, I'm getting my principal back at some point in the future, even if it's 7 or 10 years. And just all the unknowns in the interest market, that I wouldn't make a commitment, that far out. Why a bank is willing to is only because historically, a loan only lasts 7 years before it's sold or refinanced anyway. So.
Uh-oh, I think we might have lost him a little bit. Okay, so.
Well, but Don, I did think that with residential loans like this, that the balloons were not something I could do.
Probably not, but there may be something else you can do. And I'm not certain what that is, but yeah, I don't think you can do a balloon. Plus you would probably, you should have your buyer underwritten and qualified anyway.
And we do. I use Russ the underwriter, and
Yeah.
It's the whole underwriting process is done.
Good. That's a great answer.
I put that in there, and that's but I use a loan underwriter. We don't.
But if somebody wanted to park money, for a longer time, then that's a great return, especially for a retirement account.
Yeah.
I
Is
agree.
it possible to do a contract for deed in this situation where you basically amortize it for 30 years and then have the terms of the contract be at a 7 to 10 year?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. And who is it that's talking?
This is David Scott.
Hey, David, say that again.
I think I've heard once before that instead of just outrightly selling it, you could do a contract for deed, amortize it over 30 years, but then basically make the term 7 or 10. So it'd be slightly different because it's a contract for deed. You could do the 7 to 10 term.
So that's a way to avoid making it a balloon, to be compliant with the Dodd-Frank stuff, right?
That's what I'm thinking, but that would need to be confirmed. I can't say for certain.
Huh. That's certainly something to think about. One of the things I think too that would help you, Jody, is if when you're presenting your numbers, do it also put in those numbers your average 5 to 7 year term, to give people the confidence to know people really do refinance within that 5 to 7 year term. Actually, it's probably a lot lower now because the interest rates are ridiculous. But depending on what their unbankable situation is, it might be 5 to 7 years before they can get refinanced, because there are going to be so many people that have been in forbearance that are going to be in this situation that they're not bankable, but they have cash. So that's a good thing. So, and great points, Dawn. The other thing I wanted to bring up too is on your payment as your second, are you having them make that payment today, or are you waiting until a certain point? Here's what I'm thinking. So instead of doing a first and a second, you can just set it up as one note and allow the person up front to buy the first 10 years, the first 15 years, those payments. That's another way to look at it.
That's, I'm under contract to close this in my IRA.
Gotcha.
And so I'm moving forward. And then, yes, once I get it up and seasoned, I can sell off the front end or whatever I want to do. So yes, ideally though, it'd be great if I did it outside. This was a referral, so I can do this in my IRA. Ideally, it'd be great to create this outside of the IRA. And for that first position note holder, what I'm like to structure it is that we close with their money, because I'm buying the house for $147. Okay. use their money. The home is occupied, so I can't market it very well right now. Do a note with them that I'm going to pay them interest. We'll sweeten it up the deal a little bit more, that they're getting 10%. If it does take me, it could take 60 days before the whole thing, and 90 days before we get our first mortgage payment. So I would sweeten the deal to do a promissory note with them to close on it. And then when I sell it again, pay off that note and put them in the first position.
Okay. That's awesome.
Okay, and I might even, if somebody's interested in doing doing a promissory note with me to close on it, I'll structure a nice deal. I got plenty of meat on this that I can do that. And then I can still give me time to go and find my first position note holder. In these investor groups, I get it. Nobody looks at anything unless it's 10 or 12%. This is really for a passive investor that likes that, loan to value ratio. And I will reach out to Don and let him see. I did what I thought the MLS says to do. Take all the ones that have sold and, put them together, and this is what I got. And I might be undervaluing the house. That may be the other thing. I tend to do that.
Yeah.
I want things low. I mean, that's just me. I want them low.
Well, even offering seller financing, it makes the house more valuable to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Important.
You're right. I probably am undershooting it. I just, I probably should be closer to that 230. So
I think too, and Don can certainly back this up, because of how houses are selling right now, and in that particular price range that you're in, you don't have to fix up a house. You don't have to trick it out like you did 6 to 8 months ago.
no,
To get the same kind of price. Am I right about that, Don?
Absolutely. As long as it is habitable, then, just clean. That's all you need.
yeah, I'll do the clean out and clean it. It's that'll be that's my rehab, is paying 2 guys in a dumpster kind of thing. But
yeah. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to bring up was, you mentioned that a mortgage company is going to service it. What will that cost, and who's paying for the servicing?
It's $30 a month for the account to be set up with escrow, and the homeowner pays for that. I've done it 2 ways. I've baked it into the deal so that they don't have a problem with it, or they pay it, and it's part of the note, so it's under contract. But it's $30 a month, and I build it into the deal one way or the other.
Okay.
And it's built into the deal because it's $500 to get them. To work with the loan underwriter, it costs $500. They pay that at closing, just like everything else. They don't pay it if they don't qualify. So it's a safe. So if somebody that's looking, to get qualified with me, if they don't qualify, they don't have to pay the $500.
Awesome. So I want to go back to something that Don said about seller financing. When you're offering seller financing, you can charge more. Adama's nodding her head violently. Yes, that's absolutely true. I think everybody needs to understand the importance of that statement. Seller financing changes the game for everybody involved in the deal. And when you can't approach the value the same. Dawn, are you seeing more seller finance deals coming online yet?
No, I don't see it much. You still have to ask for it or put it in your offer on there. We were discussing a transaction this week in the office, and talking about seller financing. So it would be rare for it to show up in MLS. But if the group here has never experienced seller financing and how it affects value, I'll give you a corollary, and that is, in the automobile business, you've got traditional dealerships, and then you've got lot finance dealers. Lot finance dealers are not in the car business. They're in the lending business, and the car is merely a piece of collateral. And those cars sell for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 than a traditional car lot, and at 10, 12, 14, 18% interest just because that's the only place where the buyer can go.
Mm.
And you think, well, that they don't do much business, but you just drive around town and look at the number of lots and look at the inventory. It's millions of transactions a year. And so that's just a corollary to, what can happen in the housing industry. You don't want to take advantage of anyone or abuse the situation. You're helping somebody if you can put them in a home that they could not afford otherwise. And it has to be a fair transaction. That's
right. And payment is really important. If you go back to that car dealership measurement, that every car dealership, those little lots that Don's talking about, they have the payment in the windshield. Here's what your monthly payment would be. So the housing department, the housing arena is set up the same way. People really care about that payment. They're not so hung up on the price. Even I'll tell you, with me as a lender, I can tell people what my rates are and what the points are to close a deal. And I'm telling every one of you on this call that I make money off my points. I don't make it off the interest rate. So the interest rate can really be anything. The interest rate doesn't matter. It's the points that matter. That's really where we're making our money. And it's so funny to me that when I talk to most investors, all they care about is the rate. And the rate, especially on a short-term loan, is short-lived. It doesn't matter. What matters is how much money am I really bringing out of my pocket to make this deal work? That's the way people should be thinking, not what that monthly interest payment is. So that makes a really big difference. This is great, Jody. So I have a couple of questions for you. And one is, how do you come across a deal like this?
You kiss a lot of toads.
Any frogs out there?
I mean, I just bluntly, when I was connected with the person, I'm like, you want to list this? You want to list this? I just kept saying, this will sell, this will sell, this will sell. I pushed back so hard. That week that I inked that one, I had 4 opportunities, and that was the only one I walked away with. The one that I kept saying, you don't want to do business with me. The other ones were like, man, I could do this deal, and I lost those because I was $4,000 or $5,000 lower than the last wholesaler.
Yeah.
So that's why when we went back and forth on this, their dead stop was 170, and I was like, I just can't do that, and best of luck. I was at 135. And they came back twice. And then on the second time, we agreed at 147. Because I knew at that point, I knew I had a seller finance deal. This wasn't a flip. It wasn't a wholesale. I was like, no, I can take this down in my IRA and I'll sell it with financing. So that, but I did. I just talked to a lot of people. And I did. And I lost more this month than I inked. I inked 3 contracts. 2 were stuck in probate, and then this one, and the others I lost.
That's another thing that I think a lot of people are running into is deals that have hair on them. You're talking about a couple that are in probate. On our call yesterday, we were talking about our pipeline. We probably have, 20 houses in our pipeline that will close over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And 3 or 4 of them are hairy, like they have deed issues, title issues. And the reason why our buyers were able to get them is because they were hairy. And there are going to be more and more deals like that we're all going to run into. And we don't run away from it because it has hair, right?
Right. Oh, the one I do have under contract, they were already locked up. They were supposed to close, and then at last minute found out there was this probate issue, and then the buyer dropped out on them. So the guy calls me, and I negotiated it even lower because I was like, that ain't a deal, but me. And and I don't, as Dawn knows, I don't know my numbers very well, but I'm like, if I go lower, I'm safe. And now we're, now because I'm like, I can do this. And I mean, yeah, it's not going to be a quick hit, but I've inked them. I put them together with an attorney that's going to do the probate do the probate and not be paid until we close. So, that deal could be 6, 7, 8 weeks, could be 6 months. Who knows?
Yeah. You just don't know, but don't give up, because everything can be fixed pretty much.
Well, and this family needs to sell it. So, I mean, if it goes sideways and they cut me out or somebody undercuts me later, I've done the right thing.
Right.
I did what I needed to do. But
That's
on
awesome.
this one, I just saw the opportunity. And I mean, what I like about this deal, and I had the confidence to share with other investors, this isn't a crappy house. This is a house, if everything failed in and you're owning a $150,000 home that's worth over $200,000. And the northern side of Lincoln County is, if you go out there, you can see why everybody in Charlotte's getting out of town.
Mm.
It's a house that I would live in. That's my first rule. Would I live here? If I'm going to take title, would I live here? And I'm absolutely. There is no HOA. That's a nice point about this house too, but it does have a community pool. And what do people in Charlotte look for? Their community pool.
Mm-hmm.
And where is everybody going? They're getting out of Charlotte. They're leaving the lights on for the Northerners to come in. But it's also a deal that I felt like if I go to another investor that's wanting passive income, they're not doing anything. They're not bringing the buyer. They just want to put their money in something that's going to be steady. That's a really good position to be in. And again, if a lender wants to come in, I'll pay points if they'll carry me the 3 months. We'll pay points. We'll make it. I've done that before, and we make it a good deal for whoever wants to put that $150,000 to work and get those that like transactional.
Right. And it doesn't have to be just one investor.
Right.
If you have money and you are interested in doing a deal similar to this, whether you have 20,000, 50,000, 70,000, whatever it is, you need to email Jody. And the best way to reach her is
right here. I didn't even think about that. And by the way, I've got several like this in the pipeline. Nice houses in the $200,000 price point that I've said you should list, but they're coming back. So I'm looking for folks that want to partner in these types of deals. These aren't the crappy houses that I'm used to.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'll get beat out on those 4,000 or 5,000. I don't know how anybody's making money on the flip at the end of it, because I'm like, man. But that's great though. I'm glad the sellers are getting what they want out of it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. So we'll go to where folks are. This is a home they want to transition out. Their parents passed away. It's an inherited house. They don't want the house, well maintained, and they just want to. They didn't want to deal with anything. And I'm bending over backwards to close on the 30th.
I'm finding more and more because I buy leads from a company out of one of my mastermind groups just for the Rock Hill area. And just last week, I got 3 leads that were great leads, nice houses of people who just didn't want to list their properties. I can't understand why they don't want to do it. I don't think they understand that it doesn't hurt. It's not that bad. They don't want people in their house. Don, do you have any idea why people don't want to list? What are some of the reasons that you're hearing?
I think, and I'm sure Jody will get this can add, and others as well. Some people are embarrassed by the condition of their house. Some people are scared of having people in their house. COVID has made people fearful of having people in your house. I had a good friend who was selling their house in a nice neighborhood in Monroe just recently, and they were going to sell it to Open Door because the house told me was in such bad shape. When I walked them through the math, we ended up putting $25,000, $30,000 more in their pocket. You know what the buyer asked for during the due diligence period for the condition of the house? $1,200.
Wow.
And they did nothing other than live in the house. And so mindset, you just have to educate some people.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think it's because everybody watches Home and Garden TV and they think their house should look like Home and Garden TV does. We'd all like to think our house looks like that, but in reality, it doesn't. And I think maybe that's changing their mind. And I think you had a great point on COVID. There are a lot of people that are truly just still walking around in total fear about COVID, and they just don't want to take any chances. So I think
if you watch the news all day, you know,
Yeah.
then you're scared to open your front door.
yeah,
That's right. Absolutely.
yeah,
And then open door, and they promise, like Don said, they rip off, well, I can't even say, let's say, they promise ease, but don't have you understand how many thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that ease is costing you. And then they have a sweet spot. There's only certain houses that they want, and they want them in certain condition, but they must have contractors or something working with them, because they'll take something that would cost $500 and turn it, and look at every nick and every cut and every and turn it into $5,000 or $10,000. Right, Don?
mm-hmm.
All day long.
Yeah. So David Scott has a question. He says, given the current cycle we're in, should we as investors stay in the 200 or less range, such as Jody is reviewing with us? Oh, heck to the yes. I mean, I would stay under 300. Don, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what are you going to do with the house? Are you going to use
Good
it for
question.
a rental? Is it a flip? Whatever. Anything. All houses are hot right now. So if you've got an under $400,000 house, and that's not odd or unique or special in any traditional neighborhood, it will sell. So for right now, if you can buy those houses, I wouldn't back away. But if it's buy and hold, that might be a different answer.
Right. I love what you're saying there. Even in the smaller range, Darren and I, buy houses to rehab for Airbnb. Some of you might know that. And we looked at a house. Actually, we got a house under contract yesterday that fixed up. It'll probably sell for, what was my number on that? About 135 to 140. It's a little small 800 square foot house. And it's not gross. It's it needs new appliances. It smells, so it needs to be painted, on the inside and cleaned up. But really, it could use a roof. It could use windows. It could use an HVAC unit. So we could easily put 20 in it and get that 130 for it. But we could just vacuum it, clean it up, put new appliances in it that we happen to already have, and sell it for $95,000, $100,000, and be done in a couple weeks. So we could make 40 or actually 35 if we do some work on it, or we could make a quick 20, 25. What do we want to do? I'm up for the quick money to get in and out. So the other thing too, I think that a lot of people are, have been passing up in the past are the smaller little dinky houses that sell for under 120,000. Don't pass those up anymore. There's a lot of qualified buyers out there that can afford those houses. And they're quick, you're in and out of those within 6 weeks. Just remember that if you're trying to get FHA financing for them, you can't sell it in less than 6 months. If you have to have owned it. Go ahead.
You don't want to try to sell a $120,000 house with FHA financing anyway.
That's right.
It's cash or conventional. And
That's right.
Put as is in the listing and get the dreamers just out of the way.
Yeah. And it works. They sell, don't they?
See, those are the ones that I'm targeting all the time, because I know if I can pick it up for 70, 75, I can sell it in that 120, that's a seller finance deal all day long, and there's a huge market for it. So when David asked about the 200 and less, that's why I stick with 200 and less, because I'm more likely to find those that I can not have to look for a rehab or a wholesale deal that I can look like, okay, let's buy this and do it, you know, or of course, always ask the sellers, will they carry me? Of course, but I had 3 heirs on this, 3 siblings there, and getting them all together just for a closing date's been hard. So, but that's why I like that price point, because that 125, and they've got people out there have $20,000-$30,000 to put down on it. I'll carry the balance.
Yeah. Adama, that's the price range you're dealing in.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And you know, our Concord subgroup is Monday at 7:00, and my whole theme is show me the money, show us the money. So I'm always, because it's great to get deals, but how are we going to get the money to pay for them? And I'm doing a USDA day on Monday, because USDA has come out with, Don, you know about the USDA 538 loans.
I don't know the detail. I don't know the details.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it on Monday, but you can build or buy a multi-unit, 5 units and up, and the USDA, not only will they guarantee 90% of the full cost to build and acquire the land and everything. They will also, once you get your units in, if you have tenants, they will pay the tenants rent. I mean, it's crazy.
But it has to be owner occupied, doesn't it? Don't you have to be staying in one of those?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is a commercial side. This is not the home buyer side. This is the commercial side, the multifamily side.
Wow.
Yeah,
What do you have to qualify for that? Like credit score and how much money in the bank? What do you have to qualify?
It depends on the lender. Now I'm vetting 2 lenders right now that do a ton of them. And I will know that by Monday, and you know, see which one is gonna talk with us. But it's unbelievable. And this is new construction, or if you find a multifamily, it has to be in the USDA eligible area. But if you find a house that, you know, a building, a property, it's just anything that you can turn into 5 units and up. Not mobile homes. That's the one thing that they don't do. But if you want it by property, and if it's got 2 or 3 houses on it, and you want to add a couple of more houses, now you've got 5 units. You know, that's a USDA loan. That's crazy. It's USDA. It's called 538.
538. So the other thing too is, you know, my first thought is, how are they going to look at self-employed people? Because most of us self-employed people show 0 income or very little income or negative income on our taxes, and for good reason. So I wonder how they're going to look at that, if they're going to underwrite it like a regular bank would, or if they're going to underwrite it based on the income of the property.
Well, commercial is normally based on the income of the property, but I don't want to speak that until we have our professional break it down. But I mean, the government is almost like the FHA, where you're dealing with a commercial lender, but the government is absolutely guaranteeing 90% of the deal.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That's amazing. So one of the things I want everybody to keep in mind too, if you are getting into new construction and any rehabs that you're doing, that the price of lumber has increased dramatically in the past few weeks, like in some cases even 130%. So whatever bid you got a few weeks ago, you might want to get it updated, because wood has really, really, really increased in value, and we don't know how long that's going to last. But just keep that in mind. That's definitely going to be an issue. Trying to think of the other thing, like, you know, I buy in Rock Hill. When I buy properties, we are now paying $20,000 to $30,000 more for a house now than we did a year ago, when we're buying houses that are in need of repair. So we're seeing an increase in the Rock Hill area. So it's no good around here anymore. So y'all just stay wherever you are. it's, and I want everybody to understand too, there's so many people that are searching the larger cities for houses. You need to go out of town, get to the smaller bedroom communities. Don't be afraid of semi-rural areas. It's changing. Those homes are selling now, and you can still get really good deals out there. So we're past our time. Adama has a deal about an apartment complex, and I'm going to have her send me some written information. I'll post it on Facebook for you guys to see that. And I just want to thank you again for an awesome meeting. This is good stuff when we can sit here and talk about all the stuff that's going on. Thank you, Jody, for putting your for revealing yourself in front of everybody like that. And I didn't dog you, although Dawn did.
Oh, I'm following up with everything. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. It's good stuff. I mean, we need to learn to think outside the box, and what you're doing is definitely outside the box. It's good stuff, really good stuff. Don't forget that if you are interested in investing with Jody on this or any other properties that she has, you can reach her at JMS Home Buyers. That's more than one. JMS Home Buyers at gmail.com. And she's also great at sharing what she knows. So if you're a wholesaler and you need direction, Jody's the bomb. I send her a lot of people to help train. So thank you so much for being here today, Cindy. I see your hello. It's good to see you. And y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Remember, Nancy Labs will be here. We're going to talk about big time landlording stuff, which you all should be interested in, because now's a great time to buy and hold. So love you, mean it, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Jeff.